Aloha. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Mix Productions on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Okay. Thanks for stopping by. Aloha. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Mix Productions on social media. How's that? Um, I'm not sure that how much I can trust this new system with Facebook, but I'm going with it anyhow. So, the last um, log that I did, I didn't finish some of the movies that I had watched. So, so I'm gonna go ahead and finish those tonight or today. And I don't know who's here, but I, again, I'm still trying to figure out what how this new system works. Follower only, followers, leave comments. Comment. Anyhow, I'm just gonna go with it. But I had a I had this notion that I needed to do this, a live update video today, simply because there's some very auspicious things going on. There's some things going on that are pertinent, and I thought it may be a better idea to just go ahead and do a video with you guys now. Um, oh, let me see. I'm not sure. Again, I'm still working on this new system. I don't know how well it's working, but I'm just going with it anyhow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Okay, good. Um, all right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, First of all, I want to take a moment of silence, and you can't see it, but it's been raining here in Flagstaff, Arizona, for the last 2 days, literally. And I don't know. And I was just talking to one of my neighbors, about this the other day. That a lot of times when it rains or it snows or some weird weather's going on, usually it's because somebody in the neighborhood passed away, transcended, went on to their next lifetime or their next body or whatever, back into the spirit world. But anyhow, uh, and depending on what kind of weather that shows up, is the kind of influence I believe they had or have on planet Earth. And so again, it's been raining for the last couple of days, and Kelly Preston and Naya Rivera from Glee just passed away within the last few days. And so I want to go ahead and just take a moment of silence and honor their spirits. I think both of them, and I've talked about this before in other videos. About 5 years ago, just over 5 years ago, I had celebrities start to show up to my transmission meditation groups, and I say that in the sense of generality, because it's not really mine. I just facilitate it, and then it is what it is. So anyhow, both those beings, and I haven't had anybody new show up, quite a while, but both those beings came to me and asked if they could join the group. And of course, they don't even have to ask this; it's just a given for the most part. So of course, they're allowed to join the meditation group, and they were yesterday when I did transmission meditation. They both showed up. Both, didn't you? So anyhow, and I think they're doing fine. Typically when you go back in the spirit world, life I believe seems to be a whole lot easier than not than in being the body. But that's besides the point. So I want to go ahead and take a couple of just a moment of silence and just honor them and send them light and love and assume that they're in place where they are enjoying the vibe. How exactly right? So it's like that. So I want to go ahead and just honor them, and I'm sure that they did the most they could do with their lifetimes with their lives, and I'm assuming that both of them will move on. They will probably move on to another planet after this. Uh, the Right now they're probably back in the spirit world. Usually it takes about 3 days for that whole process to work through when a person dies or transitions, however you want to call it. As soon as their soul leaves the body, then it takes about 3 days uh, for them to, uh, in the sense of speaking, go back into the spirit world. Now, that's why it's important to maintain pure thoughts as much as you can, clear thoughts, and or even neutral thoughts, so that if something ever happens, then your last thoughts will have an influence on what's going to happen to your soul, your spirit, and it could stay stuck here in the body, and you become a ghost form, or a spirit, or it could be you could become an entity if you're really a negative person, that negative, but otherwise there's like a gestation period, if you want to call it that, and once you're done, then you go back in, typically you go back in the spirit world. When my grandmother passed away, it was just an amazing transformation for her, transition for her. She on my way, as soon as we heard about her passing away, we drove, my dad and my family drove to Texas, and in that process, it took about 2.5 days to get there, and in that process, she came and visited me and connected with me, and she was just like, she was very happy. She was very elated, I think is a good word to use. And then by the time we got to Texas, she left. She went through her gestation period, and she left, went back in the spirit world, and it was really funny. It was pretty awesome, I think is a better word. She took off, and then I don't know if it was that same night or a couple hours later, whatever, or the next day, but she came back with her wings. She became an angel, so that was really interesting. I wouldn't even have imagined anything like that. And she was like really happy, and it was really cool. And then I was one of the pallbearers, and when we did the funeral, the procedures, on the way to the actual cemetery, there was like, on both sides there was all these spirits and all these beings. They were like clapping. It was like a parade or something. It was just bewildering, and it was like, if you looked down below you, there was like a golden road. I mean, you couldn't really see a actual golden road, but if you looked at the energy of it, and the I don't know what you want to call it, but anyhow, on the way to the cemetery, it was all gold, and there was all these spirits, all these beings just clapping, and they were just like celebrating. It was just amazing. I was just blown away. So anyhow, when we finally got to the cemetery, they put her, of course, in the ground, and then it was a done deal. And a lot of people, we had this I don't know what it's called, not a procession, but anyhow, this dinner afterwards, and people seemed to be in good spirits, I think is a good word to use, good phrase to use, but it wasn't radical, it wasn't angry or nothing, and I don't even know that anybody was actually crying. I think everybody felt that energy of celebration. So it was really just awesome, pretty cool. So anyhow, that's what I want to do right now. I want to celebrate uh, Kelly Preston and Naya Rivera um, passing on and graduating from planet Earth. It's my understanding, are both of you graduating? It's my understanding that they're both going to another planet whenever that time, or maybe they're already there. I don't know, but they'll be going to another planet regardless, and doing their thing there whenever they incarnate into another body. So it'll be interesting. So I wanna celebrate, acknowledge their presence, their celebration of moving on, moving forward, and to bigger and better things, and just just like take a minute just to acknowledge that. Om Bhurrbhuva Svaha Tatsavitud Varnyam Bhargo Devasyaha Demahi Deyo Yonat Prachodeyat. Om Bhurrbhuva Svaha Tatsavitud Varnyam Bhargo Devasyaha Demahi Deyo Yonat Prachodeyat. Om Bhurrbhuva Svaha Tatsavitud Varnyam Bhargo Devasyaha Demahi Deyo Yonat Prachodeyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So anyhow, congratulations, blessings to you always and always. Namaste. So with that in mind, I want to go to our next subject of interest, Britney Spears. I don't know that any of you, it was brought to my attention yesterday that she's in a lot more serious situation than I think people understand and know or believe. So I put a post out on Facebook, and I first of all I requested that people send her light, love, prayers, healing, any kind of spiritual or support in general that you can take time to muster it and put it out there. But it's my understanding, and here I'll read you what I put out to some people. On July 22nd, she's to go to court for some kind of conservatorship. Apparently, so there's some kind of group of people that are overseeing her life, literally, including her father. So that's not cool. Well, it's not that it's not cool. Assumably, it's for her protection. But I went in and I consulted with my guidance, and you can take this with a grain of salt. It doesn't hurt my feelings none. But from what I understand, they're not being very nice. They're not being honest. They're abusing her. Is what I gathered from the whole situation. Again, you can take it with a grain of salt. And I'm not. I don't consider myself. I'm not a licensed therapist or doctor or lawyer or anything like that. So I do need to put that out there. But I've had enough confirmations with my abilities that I don't take them with a grain of sand. I take them very seriously most of the time. So anyhow, my what I understand and know and feel is that they've made her a slave to the system, to them, and that's not cool. She's out making millions of dollars. She can't even go and spend her own money. And I believe they're restricting her from visiting her kids and probably her mom. And so I believe that and you know that's not cool. You know she's making literally millions of dollars every year for the last 4 years in a row. They're saying she made over 138 million dollars a year. A year is what I understand, and so it, you know, that's serious. That's serious confusion. That's a serious contradiction of what's you know what's going on with her. So that's you know how is it that these people are manipulating her is what I gather and trying and running her life. So on July 22nd, now it July 22nd is a very auspicious day, and that's why I really wanted to do this update today, because this is a timing thing, and so I think it's really important to put this out there right away. So anyhow, I'm going to tell you about July 22nd. Her court days on July 22nd, and I believe, from what I understand, they're going to decide whether the conservatorship will be permanent, and so they'll have control over her life forever and ever. Amen. And that probable abuse will go on forever and ever. Amen. Throughout the rest of her life. And this is what I wrote and sent out to some people. If you see her Instagram videos, you can see it in her eyes. She's drugged up with medications. She is trying really hard to stay afloat, stay conscious, stay focused, with no one to turn to, probably, because the people that are overseeing her situation, overseeing her, are keeping her as a slave. Again, this is my perception. They probably aren't letting anyone visit her. Even the boyfriend she had, and she was involved with some guy. All of a sudden, he disappeared. What was up with that? You know, she seemed to be happy and, you know, back in the mainstream of relationship life and intimacy and all this stuff. And all of a sudden, he just disappears. She's by herself again. All of a sudden. So they probably stopped him from visiting her. Social media seems to be the only place that she has an outlet with. My guess is that she's probably pretty limited with even on social media. Who knows how much she gets to visit with her kids and her mom. I've seen her for the last several months, just kind of working things through, and I've encouraged her to, because she was doing hatha yoga, and it seems like hatha yoga is the main staple that has been helping to keep her alive. I think if she didn't have hatha yoga, she probably would have committed suicide a long time ago. That's what I think. So and you know how correct is that? You can decide for yourself. But anyhow, I've encouraged her to continue with the hatha yoga. I don't know if she read my message or not. Hopefully she did. And it's a form of meditation, right? So prayer and meditation, I guarantee you, for the most part, will help just about anyone, pretty much, stay alive, keep focused, have some hope. You know, you can have other people help you out and support you help give you hope, but inevitably you give yourself hope. That's the bottom line. You have to connect with your higher self, your with God Goddess, and that was probably the biggest thing that will give you hope, regardless of what anybody says or does. And that's the bottom line. So anyhow, I got a lot of. I went to a website, and it was called Diet. What was it called? I don't. I don't even know now. Hang on, let me see if I can find it. But it was called Diet something. Hang on, I'll find it. And whoever it was, Diet underscore Prada on Instagram. I don't know who these people are, but they had a whole bunch of information about what's going on with her. So you can go to there to Instagram, Diet underscore Prada, and find their their profile, and there's a picture of Britney there, and if you click on that and scroll to the different boards that they have on there, they have a whole bunch of information about what's going on with her situation. And I don't know that I've seen that anywhere else or heard about that anywhere else, but I do know that this is a very serious matter for Britney Spears. And so again, if you can take some time to send her light, love, prayers, healing, anything that will help support her, I believe any little bit will help. I can almost guarantee it, and 100%. And if enough people come together and do this, I believe you're going to see a miracle. I can almost guarantee you 100%. So I think that will happen. And so with that in mind, the reason I said that July 22nd is very auspicious is because there's a comet. And I'm putting the website. I don't know if I put the profile page, but I probably will. I'll put the profile page for this Britney Spears for Diet Prada, so that you can go and just click on it. But I also put I've already put there's an article about the Neowise Comet that's happening now as we speak. Literally, you might be able to see it even now, especially in the northern. I believe they said northern states. There's all kinds of activity going on. It's going to be. They said it started on the 14th of this month, and then on the 19th of this month, you should be able to, especially in the northern, I believe northern states, at dinner time, right before the sun goes down. I think they said you can see this comet going across the sky. Now, what's very auspicious, first of all, this energy is building. I believe it's building. And I'm sure that the energy with Britney Spears concerning this court case is probably building. And get this, the best day, and I think the last day, I'm not sure if it's the last day, but I think it's the last day. But the best day to see this comet, July 22nd. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that auspicious? So on July 22nd, you'll be able to see, definitely see this comet. And I think they're saying that you can see this comet from anywhere in the world, and it'll be the last time that we'll be able to see it, because it won't be for like over 6,000 years. It won't come by again. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen on July 22nd with all this stuff and with Britney Spears and so forth. I hope that the best, that she'll come out, and I'm assuming, I'm not even going to hope, I'm going to assume, I'm going to just not even empower that negative or lower aspect of thinking, but I'm going to assume that everything's going to come out in an awesome way for her. So I think, and things will change for her in a good, healthy way. Now, with that in mind, concerning this pandemic, I recommend, as you can see, I'm wearing this mask much more than just for the virus. I got chronic sinusitis, and hopefully sometime in the near future I'll get a nose job, and it'll fix it, and I won't have to deal with this as much or at all, like I've been dealing with this for years, not just months or weeks or days, but years. I've been having to deal with this shit, and so once I get the operation, then I think I'll be able to breathe. I mean, even if it increases at 15 or even 5% better breathing, or more, I think I'm still going to be doing a whole lot better. So anyhow, I'll deal with that when I deal with that when the time comes. So anyhow, so with that in mind, I it's funny because at the beginning of this whole situation, they were going, no, don't wear any masks, don't wear any masks. And now they're mandating everybody to wear masks. Isn't that funny? Ha ha ha. Well, whatever. But I've been wearing this mask for over a year now, at least over a year, and it's been helping me with the chronic sinusitis. But I believe it's also been helping me keep abreast and out of the firing zone with this pandemic. So I feel good about that, and you should too. And there should be no reason why you shouldn't wear the mask, not even for a second, because do you want to have murder on your hands, the blood of murder on your hands, because you didn't want to wear a mask because you were too good to wear a mask? Well, whatever. Get over it. Get over yourself. Get a life, right? So I would strongly suggest, for the sake of humanity, of your neighbor, of your brother, your sister, your family, your friends, that hoping that they don't get sick because you had to be a badass, and just wear the mask. People are hung up on themselves. Oh, I'm too good to wear a mask. Well, if you're too good to die, I guess, then don't wear the mask. I'm not going to argue. It's like that. So with that in mind, from what I understand, I went in, and again, you can take this with a grain of salt. I went in and checked up on whether what the deal is with this pandemic, and what I got was it's probably going to be around for the next 2 months at least, and then probably November. There's not going to be any more new cases, and it's going to start to die down, and eventually it's going to fizzle out. So there's still going to be people getting this virus for the next 2 months. It's not going to stop. That's what I picked up. And so if that's the case, make yourself at home. Just relax, chill, right? It's like that. Just deal with it. So, and because of that, there's a lot of internet stuff going on. There's a lot of people staying home, and all kinds of new shit is popping up. So one of the things that I would recommend, if you don't have some kind of security camera at your place, at your house, your apartment, whatever, I would recommend getting one, like yesterday. Some kind of doorbell camera or something like that. I would recommend just do it, because especially if you live in like housing development place or something like that, I would recommend you doing that like right away. And then the other thing that's happening is there's a lot of cyber attacks going on. a lot of computer. There's like a new computer thing going up. What was it? Hang on, let's see if I can find it. But these people, and that's why I said, put a thing over your camera, something over your camera, so that they can't come in and see you. If you're not using your webcam, then put something over it to cover it, because these people are able to come in and see you through your own camera, and it doesn't, and they can do it now so that the light doesn't even go on anymore. They can do it without even the light going on, and because usually the light goes on when you're using the webcam. Well, now they can do it without even the light going on, so they can probably hear you and see you right through your computer. So right away, I do that. There's an article. Let me see. Time out. Let me see if I can find this. There's and I put the name of the article and the address there for it. It says online shoppers have lost millions to fraud during lockdown. They recommend a strong security software system, VPN, which is with a VPN you can rest assured your IP address and even your location, or basically it helps to privatize your computer, so you can surf the internet anonymously. They suggest to get some kind of password manager, but even beyond that, even if you do that, what I recommend for the password situation is have 3 levels of passwords. One generic password that you use with accounts that you don't really care if somebody goes and hacks them or not. Very generic stuff. And then have another password that's useful for more secure websites or whatever accounts that you change. You probably change that password every 6 months, or maybe every year or something like that. And then you have one highly secure password that you use that you might change every month, every other month, and those are for accounts that your bank accounts, your banking systems, systems that are high important systems and accounts, and again with passwords that you might change every month or whatever, or a very secure password that you don't tell anybody. Nobody knows that password except you. And you'll want a letter in there, you'll want a number in there, and you'll want some kind of a character, like exclamation point or I don't know, percent or something like that in there. And usually it's those accounts have at least eight characters that you need to put in. So you're going to want, and again, this password is the high clearance password that you don't tell anybody. Nobody knows that password. Not your mother, your dad, your sister, your wife, your girlfriend, your friend, whatever. Nobody knows that password except you. And if something happens and you forget it or something, well, you can always go and say, I forgot my password, and then go get the password. And then if that happens, you want to create a new password right there on the spot. High clearance password, again, that you don't tell anybody. So they also recommend, now when you're surfing the internet, don't download anything, any software, any programs, and if you do, what you want to do is download them and then get off. And that's the other thing you want to do. When you're not using your computer, turn off the internet, like right there on the spot. When you get ready to go to bed, turn on. And if you don't have a switch on your computer to do that with, then turn off the modem. But whatever you do, whenever you're not using your computer, even if you have your computer closed, and my sister, I've tried to tell her, but she doesn't believe me. She said she would turn off her computer, and then all of a sudden it would come back on by itself. Hackers were literally turning on her computer and going through her computer and getting any information that has to do with her bank accounts or whatever. So it's like that. These people can even turn on your computer nowadays. If you have a laptop, I close my laptop, and I don't think that, because once it's closed, I think it turns off and it won't come on, even if some hacker comes in and tries to turn it on. I don't think it'll come on. But regardless of circumstance, I don't care. I turn off the internet on my computer. Whenever I'm done, I close the top. But I turn off the internet right there on the spot. That way, and even when I go to the restroom, I kid you not, I have a switch on my computer. I'll go to the restroom, and I'll turn off the internet when I go to the restroom. Even it's that serious. I don't trust any of these people, and I've had people hack into my computer before, many times, not just once, and I've seen them. I've seen them in action. So don't ever assume that these people are idiots or stupid. A lot of times they're assholes to begin with, but that's besides the point. So if they're going to, and see, that's the other thing besides, that has to do with the password manager. If somebody wants to hack into your email, your Gmail, your Yahoo email, or anything, they can hack into just about anything they want to. So a lot of times, your password, it doesn't matter how clever it is, how amazing it is, they're going to figure it out anyhow, one way or another. Most of the time, or a lot of times. I can't guarantee that 100%, but if you can deter them and stop them from hacking into any of your accounts, whatever it takes, whatever helps, it's that big of a step closer to preventing identity theft and whatever else. Now these guys also, now that's the other thing they say, is that you might want to consider getting mobile security app for your phone. Now they say use Norton. They're recommending Norton, but I probably most of the time, I'm not sure what percentage of the time, but most of the time, the very systems that are out there to supposedly protect your computer and your phone are the same assholes that are creating viruses to break into your computer and your phone. They're the same companies, one and the same. The exact same company. And I've had companies, I'd go in and install a virus protector, and all of a sudden I'd be having problems with my computer afterwards. So the only reason there's a virus protection on this computer is because it came with it. Otherwise, now that's the other thing too. If you can go in and clear your cache files regularly every day. That's what I do that. Not just once, but probably about at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times in a day. I'll clear my cache. You go up to what is it? You go down to start menu. You can probably find a YouTube video to do this with, and you scroll all the way down to set where it says Windows Systems. You click on Control Panel, and on the control panel there's a menu item that says network and internet. Click on that, and then another page comes up where it says internet options. You click on deleting browsing history and cookies, and you can delete. I usually, a lot of times I'll put in where it deletes everything except for my passwords, because I don't want to go in and read type in all my passwords, because I have a number of them. And then I'll delete temporary internet files, preserve favorites, website data, cookies and website data, history, download history, form data definitely, tracking. I've had a number of times where I deleted all this stuff and the tracking protection was unchecked, even though I had already checked it. And all of a sudden I go to delete all this stuff and it's unchecked because somebody went in there and deleted all that. So I mean unchecked it while whenever, I don't know. And then there's another place under internet properties. There's a thing, a button that says settings. You click on that, and then a website data settings window pops up. View files at the very bottom, and then you click on local at the very top. Sometimes there's stuff there. You just delete everything right in that iNet cache, because a lot of times it's just cookies anyhow. People trying to spy on you. So, and then at the very top there's a menu item that says look loco. You go all the way down to the bottom. It takes you to a page, the loco page. At the very bottom it says temp. Click on that, open that up, and see I got a whole bunch of shit in there that doesn't need to be there. So you just delete everything in there. And everything is all temporary files. So just get rid of all of that stuff. And then just close your window, which I did just now. And now, because a lot of times what happens is these hackers, what they do is how they get into your computer is they go to the temporary files section, and that's where they put their claw at. And then they start playing around and looking around into your computer, into your hard drive, all kinds of shit. And that's how they do it. It's through the temporary files. If you get clear a lot of times I've had viruses that have been in the temporary files. As soon as I cleared all that, the virus was gone. Period. So most of the time, if the hackers are going to jack up your computer, it's through the temporary file that I just explained to you just now. So that's what I would do if I was you. And if you can't figure it out, then I would go ahead and go on a YouTube, go find a YouTube video that'll show you how to get into your temporary files and then delete all that, everything. And sometimes not everything is deleted, and that's because of some window or some Microsoft Word document is open, and as soon as you close them, then they'll be gone. So it's like that. Anyhow, again, there's a lot of cyber attacks going on, so just more than being cautious, have an understanding as to how they're doing this, or have some kind of system that will help you keep your computer secure and safe, and protect your computer. So, at the very least. Now, another thing that's going on is that there's been a lot of performances, of virtual performances. Some of the performances that you can, some of the places you can go to for free live concerts, music concerts, are Ticketmaster, Fans, and then Instagram. There's a lot of musicians. Oh my God, there's so many musicians out there doing free concerts on Instagram. And some of them are pretty cool. They're interesting, have nice music, good music, and the light. And so with that in mind, um, I that the voting for the November elections is going to be very interesting to watch. If you haven't already, what's today? Today may actually be the last day. I'm not sure, but don't take my word for it. If you can vote via mail. I would go make arrangements to go vote via mail right away because there's some weird shit that's going on with these voting booths. A lot of them are being closed down. Some lady said she wasn't allowed to vote. They wouldn't let her go into the booth and vote. I mean, and one other crowd, they closed the doors and they stopped people from voting, and they had no right to. So there's some weird shit going on the voting situation, and if I was you, and if you really want to vote, I would go make arrangements to vote via snail mail if it isn't too late. If you really want to vote, I would definitely make those arrangements right away. So anyhow, I'm gonna just go through this as quick as possible for the movie critiques. And I don't know if they're helpful for you or not. Hopefully they are. But the first there was, and this well I'll talk about that later. But the three movies um, that I have up on the schedule is they're all two thumbs up movies. They're the top of the line. They're quite interesting. I would definitely recommend to go watch them. The first one is called One for the Money. Um, Came out in time out. Okay, now I got what? Okay, it came out with in 2012, and it's an older movie. And I think Catherine Hagel actually helped produce this. I'm not sure. She was, of course, in it. Jason O'Mara, John Leguizamo, Daniel Sanjata, Debbie Reynolds, Sherry Shepard, and Fisher Stevens. That was interesting to see Debbie Reynolds in there, but it worked. She was in there. Um, this woman, Catherine Hagel's character, she goes out and she loses her job, I think, and she's working at Macy's, all right. She loses her job, and she goes and tries to find a job, and she ends up at this bail bondsman place. And so, anyhow, she goes and she gets hired, and one of the guys that she needs to find is an ex-flame of hers, right? Who is actually a cop, an ex-cop or something. So they're looking for him because I don't know, something's up, some kind of weird stuff going on, and they go through this whole mirage of stuff going on, and she still has the hots for them, and he still has the hots for her, and so anyhow she goes and does like two or three other jobs and finally gets paid, and she's making money to support herself. And in the meantime, she's still looking for this. She's still trying to catch this guy, and he's like totally just screwing with her. It's funny, but anyhow, it's a comedy. But it's there was some stuff in there that was kind of cheesy. That was kind of stupid. But the overall situation, the overall movie was pretty cool. So the whole plot was interesting, and so at the very end, she ends up, she calls her friend. Oh, I get to shoot a gun today. I got to shoot a gun today. She's like tripping out, right? And the cop that finds her, and he ends up at her place, right? And so they end up, of course, jumping each other's bones at some point, and so they come to find out he's mixed up in some kind of a undercover cop thing, and there's some kind of I don't remember all the stuff that happened, but anyhow he's caught up in and people think that he killed someone or something. That's right. Um, there was some kind of situation that happened, and it made him look like the killer, but when in fact there was some other mob or gangster stuff going on. So they finally catch them, and they live and Hagel and this guy live this ex cop live happily ever after, right? So it's like that. Whatever. So anyhow, Pitch Perfect 3, again, this is like, I don't know, the 100th time that I watch this. I don't know how many times I watched it, but whenever I need, whenever I just want to just relax and enjoy a movie and know that I can enjoy a movie, I'll turn that on. There's a number of movies that I have, but that's one of my favorite movies to watch because it's just you know, a place where women and their talent can be above the law. Why not, right? So it's like that. Anna came out in 2015. Anna Kendrick, Haley Steinfeld, Brittany Snow, Anna Camp, Reb Wilson, Esther Dean, Hannah Mae Lee, Kelly Jackal, Shelley Regner, Chrissy Fitt, Alexis Knapp, Elizabeth Banks, John Michael, and John Lithgow. Um, if you haven't watched that movie, it's a cappella movie, all kinds of just inspiring music, just upbeat music, and of course there's a scandal that happens, and you know the Rebel Wilson's character's dad is jumps into the picture, and he tries to scam her for her money and all kinds of stuff. But now the cool thing about that movie is that they do a whole performance for the military in I think in the USO, and so they have this whole performance thing with the USO, and I don't know how real or how live that was or how fake that was, but they seem to be having a good time and just making the most of it. So fun movie to watch, especially for with the kids and the family and the friends and whatever else. Just a nice movie to watch and just kick back and chill and enjoy. Now, this is an example. It came out. This movie, the Out of Towners, came out in 1999. This is another really good example of good old fashioned authentic comedy. You know, Steve Martin, he's probably a legend for comedy, and so is Goldie Hawn, and then John Cleese is in this as well. But you know, Steve Martin and Goldie Hawn are married with each other. The kid goes to college, so he loses his job unbeknownst to Goldie Hawn's character. So they go to New York to try, so he can go for a job interview, so he can get a job, so he can still be able to pay bills, right? So of course they go through all this mirage of hilarious events and activities, and finally Goldie Hawn finds out what the hell is going on, and she's like upset, and of course Steve Martin gets the job at the very end, and they live happily ever after, right? So hilarious movie, 1999. You know, it was back in the day when movie producers didn't give a shit about making money more so than presenting a story that's understandable and clear and fun for people to hear and listen to and see. So it's like that. These people tell these stories, and they're authentic, and you know they're coming from their heart-based selves rather than their selfish selves of wanting to make money. And for example, let me see. These movies were one thumb up. Desperado with Nassim Pedrad, Anna Camp, Sarah Burns, Heather Graham. You know, this movie. This Nassim Pedrad, her character is codependent personality type, and she gets involved with this guy. He goes to Mexico, and then he doesn't write her because he's in an accident, and so they send him some kind of a nasty email, and then he calls her and he says, "Oh, I'm in the hospital," and she's like, "Oh, like on a trip," and then they go, "Well, let's go." Yeah, right, we're gonna go to Mexico just so we can delete that email. How stupid is that? You know, that whole plot is just like full of shit, right? And they had other parts in the movie that were full of shit. Come on, give me a break. Whatever. You know, if you're gonna write a movie, is it gonna be a smooth transition all the way through, presentable, understandable? Is the acting gonna be good? Is the writing gonna be good? And you know, sometimes the actors can't even act the parts because the writing is so shitty. So it's like that, right? And you know, and is there a really good lesson to learn? Is there a really good um, message from the movie to learn, to understand, to know? You know, is there some technology that's interesting to learn about? Is there, you know, there's so much stuff that these people can present, and it's enjoyable to watch. But what do? They do a half-assed job, and then just because they want to make money. And who produced this movie, Desperados? They came out this year. Netflix. Netflix is notorious for shitty movies. Period. But that's besides the point. So anyhow, it's like that. The next movies are 1.5 thumbs up movies. Blowing up right now, Danny Jones and Sujata Day. Blowing up right now. Time out. I gotta go and get a row out of towners. You know, when you're a skilled, and see,
A genius. So
that's the other thing about movies. You know, if you get a really shitty actor, you know, it takes them longer to learn the lines. They can't present they can take any line and make it authentic, make it awesome, make it real, right? But a shitty actor, they can take the best lines and really screw them up, right? They sound like shit because they don't know how to act. So that's the difference between, you know, it's like a label. You know, you get jeans that are authentic, and they feel good, and they last. And the street, you know, and versus a pathetic pair of jeans, and they start falling apart within a month or whatever, because they're so poorly made, right? So it's like that. So anyhow, blowing up. What was this? Okay, I gotta watch part of this. What are you doing, you idiot? You know, you try to remember all these movies. Oh, okay. Now this movie, I gotta congratulate because it was probably the most modern, up-to-date movie presentation, uh, and written in that way that you can probably come across. You know, everything that's going on in modern day times, they put in that movie. You know, this couple, they can't, they're not getting along very well. The husband or the boyfriend is an internet geek who makes all his money off the internet, and you know, back in the day, you know, a few years ago, you would never hear about somebody making money off the internet, right? You got to go get a job right now. Oh, okay, whatever. And there are hundreds of thousands of people making money, lots of money, millions of dollars off the internet. Every year, every day, they're making thousands. Every month, they're making some people are making millions of dollars off the internet every month. Every month. So you would never hear about anybody, you know, back in when I was growing up about making money off the internet. You have to go get yourself a job, right? It was like that. So anyhow, this whole scene, this whole plot revolves around the internet and this couple and Instagramming and the phone, and then all of a sudden, um, they go through this. The Los Angeles area is going to be blown up by some missile or something, and they're like, all of a sudden, they can't stand each. Well, they can stand each other, but they're just tolerating each other, to, oh, let's get together, and all of a sudden she gets all horny because of the whole situation, because they're gonna die, so death makes her horny, and so they jump each other's bones, and then come to find out she's had a love affair with some other younger guy, and he finds out about it, blah blah blah. So it goes on and on, and then at the very end, he like gets pissed off and goes, right. He leaves the boyfriend, and then all of a sudden they're the bomb is no, at first they learned that the bomb was a dud. It was some kind of fake media, right? And so everybody's like relieved, and then all of a sudden here comes another bomb, and this time it's not a fake media bomb. It's an authentic bomb. So he runs back to her, and they hang on to each other, and you can figure out the rest from there. See now, very interesting movie. Again, the some of the acting I think could have been worked with, the writing and the direction. Some of the stuff, again, when you go from one transition to one scene to the next, it needs to be smooth. It needs to be believable. And most or all the movies that I'm going to be talking about, there was, you just can't see the transition. It's so confused. Sometimes it's so confusing. Like, where in the hell is the transition? I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense. So it's like that. So especially the one thumb up movies, they're just like that. You see, My Alien Girlfriend. Now there was two movies that were similar to this, and this one was actually the better of the two movies. The other movie was actually made in Sedona. Woohoo! Whatever. But anyhow, it was made in Sedona, but this one wasn't. This came out last year. 1.5 thumb up. My Alien Girlfriend with Ken Breeze, Max Reeves, Abigail Stanton, Taylor King, and Connor Skiffick. It was an interesting movie. The alien, Max Reeves, is she like comes in, and she's you see these weird green claws and all this stuff, and Ken Breeze, his character is about to get married, right? So they have the wife, the fiance, goes and has a bachelorette party that night, and he's not allowed to have a bachelor party because she's so controlling, right? And so anyhow, there's this creature with these claws at the very beginning, and all of a sudden he goes out and greets his brother, I think, and then comes back, and she shapeshifts, right, into a famous movie star. So now they show her as this famous movie star, and so he has a YouTube show about aliens and Star Wars and all this stuff, and he makes money doing that, lots of money from doing that, and he understands how to deal with this alien person, and because she can barely speak at all, or just make noises or something. So she starts to learn how to speak as the movie progresses, and then he taps into all this stuff, and there's some kind of a I don't know, I want some kind of gadget, like I don't know how to call it, but it's like, the Star Wars laser. It's like the bottom of that, without the laser. So anyhow, it's broken. So he goes and he knows his buddy that can fix it. He goes and takes it to him to fix it. In the meantime, him and Max Reeves, this famous singer, go out and pouncing around, and all this stuff happens. And the girlfriend, fiance, catches them, and she's in the car and he's driving by. Again, there's some weird shit that just doesn't make any sense. So anyhow, she catches them, and blah blah blah, and finally she gets to go home. They at the very end, I believe they fix the thing, and he does some kind of a they turn this thing on, and she goes home. So she's like, home, home, right? I want to go home. Whatever. Okay, fine. So anyhow, that was a much more funner movie to watch than the other one I'm going to talk about. Anyhow, authors Anonymous. When did that movie come out? 2013. Kaylee Cuoco, Chris Klein, Dennis Farina, Terry Polo, Dylan Walsh, and William Bruce. They have some good talent in this movie, and I think there was just some of it seemed kind of slow, and I think there was stuff that, again, the transitional thing wasn't happening smoothly and all the way through, but it was a good storyline. There was somebody doing a documentary of this group, a writing group, that Chris Klein and Kelly Kawako, and Chris Klein has the hots for Kaylee Kawako, and she turns around and goes and sleeps with some agent, some booking agent or something like that, and so he of course turns around and says, "Oh, we'll get your book published." So she's like, and the whole idea is to get this whole to get somebody's book published, right, out of the group. So that's the contest, the competition that's going on, and so of course she gets this agent to publish her book, and or at least to commit to publishing her book, and Dennis Farina is like, "Oh no, you're not going to beat me," so he goes self-publishes his book, and his book is supposed to have a lion at the very beginning, but they have a dog on there instead. He's like, "Oh, okay." So he goes and he goes, "Yeah, I'm the first one to get my book published," and so then him and his girlfriend, and she's like a foreigner, I don't know from where, but anyhow, she's like a model, actually a model, real life model. I don't know, I don't remember her name is, but anyhow, anyhow. So they go to this hardware store to do a book signing there at the hardware store. So of course the people from the book club come by and they, "Oh yeah, congratulations, blah blah blah." So they buy one of his books, and he's still trying to sell his books. So the girlfriend goes and and buys all his books without him knowing, and behind his back, and she goes, "Oh, here, look at all this money. We sold all your books." Wrong move, because now he thinks he's hot shit, and now he wants to go do this whole worldwide book tour everywhere. so she's going, "Oh my God!" So eventually she leaves him, but anyhow, and now Terry Polo, what was that movie? I can't remember. She was in some other movies, but with Robert De Niro and some other people, but anyhow, she was in those movies, and it was interesting to see her in this movie, and she was like really really jealous of Kaylee Kawako, right? She's like totally jealous, and I don't know. There's some very interesting scenes with her in that, but very interesting movie, and at the very end, Kaylee Kawako, she has her book signing, and then Chris Klein catches her with the agent, and that's how he finds out that she's sleeping with him, and then so he gets all pissed off and walks away, and then at the very end he goes to her book signing anyhow, and they become friends again, I guess, or something like that. Very odd movie. I don't remember what the ending was to that. It must be because it wasn't a very good ending. I don't know, but you can check it out for yourself if you want. You May Not Kiss the Bride. Now, this was an interesting movie, 2012, with um, Dave Annabelle, Catherine McPhee, Rob Schneider, Mina Suvari. Um, this Dave Annabelle's character is a photographer, animal photographer, right? So they bring in some cat. Some woman brings in the cat. Actually, the wife of a mobster in town, right? A major mobster brings in her cat, and then he's photographing a dog, this big dog, and the somehow the cat gets out of the bag, haha, and the dog starts chasing this cat and kills it or something. So so the mobsters go, the husband goes, well, you have to make this up. You killed my wife's cat, right? So and they're trying to figure out a way to bring in the daughter, so she can get citizenship right away, right? So he goes, well, you have to marry my daughter. In the meantime, the CIA, I believe it was the CIA, is trying to he tries to bribe the mobster. The husband tries to bribe the CIA so that they can get her daughter back in. And the CIA guys, there's two guys, they're like, no, we don't take bribe, and they're like supposedly insulted. Well, anyhow, this Dave guy marries Catherine McPhee, her character, and they go on a honeymoon. And then at the honeymoon, she gets kidnapped. Right? Oh no! So come to find out, it's the CIA guys that are kidnapping them, and they get busted and come and in the meantime, he's not allowed. Dave Annabelle's character is not allowed to kiss Catherine McPhee, right? They're supposed to. They can't even touch each other. So it's like that. So they they t- they they go out and hang out, and come to find out they're in love because the Catherine McPhee's character is supposed to marry one of the mobsters. Well, one of that mobster guy that she's supposed to marry is also involved in her kidnapping. So anyhow, it turns into a whole whirlwind of shit, and they Catherine McPhee's character and Dave Annabelle's character, they figure out they're in love with each other, so they end up getting involved with each other anyhow at the very end. So, and since they're already married, they don't have to get married already, right? Again, right? The Beaver, 2011, with Mel Gibson, Jodie Foster, Anton Yelchin, Jennifer Lawrence, and Riley Thomas Stewart. Now, this was a very interesting movie. Mel Gibson at the very beginning and Jodie Foster, their characters are married to each other in the movie, but they're separated because he's like not himself. He's not able to function very well. So he's like deeply depressed, right? So it's like that. So he he's like something at the very something happens at the beginning, and he ends up falling down, getting drunk or something. I don't remember. But all of a sudden there's this puppet, this beaver, right? It's called the Beaver, and the Beaver all of a sudden takes on its own character, its own personality. In this day and age, it's called channeling. So he starts channeling this beaver that comes through his hand, and the beaver starts taking over his life. Well, I want you to do this, and he takes over his company. He like the CEO of some company or whatever, and he takes over this company, and they start selling all this stuff, and also the company's like in a taking a deep dive, and all of a sudden he brings the company back through this beaver, channeling this beaver, right? And so, and then towards the end, the only way that he gets rid of the beaver is he cuts off his arm, which I think is a bit much, is over the top, and not to mention that when a lot of times when he did this beaver thing, a channeling thing, I think he overdid it. It was a bit much, so I think he was trying too hard with it, and I wasn't buying it. Is this guy channeling the beaver? If he would have understood that which he probably didn't, is what he was doing. It was channeling this Beaver. It would have been probably more authentic and more believable, but I don't think he did because I just didn't buy it. So anyhow, so at the very end he chops off his arm, and then his kids um, or his kid comes, because his kid is rebelling against him. I don't want to talk to this guy, and I don't want to talk to that Beaver, right? And so at the very end, his kid embraces him, and that's the message that they want to bring: father, son, embracing each other and finally reuniting. Okay, and the core, it came out in 2010 with Aaron Eckhart, Hilary Swank, Richard Jenkins, Alfred Woodward, Bruce Greenwood, Stanley Tucci, Delroy Lindo, and DJ Quells. Now this is I don't know how real this situation would or could be, but apparently the Earth's core stops moving, so therefore the magnetization, the magnetic essence of the Earth stops working like it's supposed to be working. So they figure out, well, we got to go to the center of the Earth's core and nuke it so that we can jumpstart it and get it back to moving again. So they figure out a way. There's some kind of machine, like a worm type of machine, that this guy builds, and they give him like $15 billion or whatever to build it, or 150 billion, I don't know, but it's just a large amount of money. Anyhow, they build this worm. It looks like a worm, and so they get a handful of people, and of course all of them die except for Aaron Eckhart and Hilary Swank, and they go into this worm. And I don't know how believable the technology was. Interesting to see, just to note, but I don't know how this worm would be able to work its way through the Earth's core, because they had it set up in the ocean, and then it just went right in like an oil rig, went in and went all the way to the center of Earth's core, and then they went and detonated the nuke, and then they came back out, and Aaron Eckhart and Hilary Swank were the only ones alive. Now, for me, I understand and pretty much know for the most part that the Earth is like a donut. You have it's moving and moving, and then at the very north and the south, there's like these big holes in the Earth. Why wouldn't they go fly into into there and detonate the nukes through that means? Right? Whatever. So again, there's people don't think that these writers, these producers, these directors, I think that they think that people are stupid, they're idiots, right? They don't know anything, and that's what it seems like to me. And I think that's where a lot of the problem lies to begin with, is that these people think that the audience are idiots, they're stupid, and do I want to be made like an idiot because you don't know how to write, you don't know how to produce, you don't know how to direct, you don't know how to act? Really? Whatever. So it's like that. From Prada to Nada, came out in 2010. Camille Bell, Alexa Penavega, Nicholas D'Agosto, April Bowley, or Bowley, I guess, or Bowlby, I should say, Pablo Cruz, Adriana Barraza. Interesting movie. These sisters, their dad has a heart attack. They're coming from a well-to-do life. They have lived in this big house. He's got all kinds of money, and so the dad dies. They don't have anybody else. I think the mother died too, or something. I can't remember what happened to the mother, but they go live with their aunt or their friend, or I don't know, cousin or something, in East LA. no, I think I kind of recognize those areas because again, during the L.A. riots back in 1991 or 92 or whatever, I lived right there. I lived there for a few months during the L.A. riots, and and then, but I recognize some of the shops. See, anyhow, they live in this East LA area, and they don't even claim to being Mexican because they're so white, right? It's like that. So they basically they get in touch with their roots, and Camila Bell goes and I don't remember she's going to school, I think, to become a lawyer, and I don't know, they go through all these mirage of happenings. They learn how to become women, I think, maybe. And so Alexa Penavega, I don't know if she's the older sister or not, but anyhow, she gets, oh no, I take it back, she's the one that goes back to school. And Camila gets a job, I think, working for something, a law firm or something. And so Alexa goes to school, and she hooks up with the teacher, right? Whatever. And so the teacher, they hook up, and then he takes off to Mexico supposedly, and but come to find out he hooks up with some other woman. So she's all in love with this guy, and come to find out he's screwing around with some other woman. So she gets, of course, her face put in the mud because she's like one of these valley girls or something, that they're so hung up on themselves, because they got so much money and all these friends, blah blah blah. So it's like that. And then when this guy, she catches him with this other woman, she's like, oh, broken hearted like no tomorrow. But that's besides the point. In the meantime, Camila Bell, she hooks up with this other guy, and I don't know if she's a virgin in this movie or not. It seems like she is, but she hooks up with this other guy, and she gets drunk with him, and he's ready to hook up with her, and then all of a sudden she says something stupid comes out of her mouth, and he just like takes off, and forget it. And in the meantime, at the very end, they get hooked up with each other, and blah blah blah. So they live happily ever after, whatever. So how do you know? Reese Witherspoon, Paul Rudd, Owen Wilson, Jack Nicholson, and Catherine Hahn. 2010. Reese Witherspoon, her character is like she's living with this roommate, female roommate, and she hooks up with Owen Wilson, who's this famous athlete or something like that. His character, right? So they hook up with each other. I and then she starts talking to Paul Rudd, and he's very real with her in her character. His character is very real with her about everything. Doesn't mince words, and that's what she likes about him. He's very straightforward with her. But with this type, and her Paul Rudd's character's dad is Jack Nicholson's character, right? So that was actually a good part from Jack Nicholson, and so anyhow Paul Rudd's character ends up in some kind of investigation, federal investigation, because Jack Nicholson, his character, does some kind of cooking of the books or something like that. I don't know what. So he gets fired, and he loses his job and all this stuff. This guy's got like going through the mill, right? And anyhow, I somehow at the very end, either Jack Nicholson his character or Paul Rudd's character is going to have to go to jail. One of them is going to have to go to jail or prison, right? So, and Paul Rudd's character doesn't do anything wrong. He's not actually even guilty of anything, and it's Jack Nicholson's character. So he has to make up his mind whether he's going to go to prison for his dad, or he's going to let his dad go to prison, which will be a lot longer than what he would go to prison for in terms of time. He goes, oh, well, if Reese Witherspoon chooses me, then you're going to prison, right? And if she doesn't, then I'll go to prison. So at the very end, and it's one of those characters that I just have to wonder, how in the hell do these people get hooked up? And would somebody like that really choose Paul Rudd's character? I don't know, but I think it was a little bit off kilter, but that's beside the point. Anyhow, Trucker came out in 2009 with Michelle Monaghan, Nathan Fillion, Benjamin Bratt, Joey Lauren Adams, and Jim Bennett. This was actually an interesting um, um, part for Michelle Monaghan, who's this this badass um, woman, badass trucker, right? Um, she has a kid. Somehow she gets pregnant with this kid, and she doesn't want the kid, so she leaves the kid with the father, which they break up, and so somehow the kid ends up back in with her because the father father's gonna has cancer. Oh, Benjamin Bratt is the father. Now I remember, and so her he's got cancer. He's in the hospital, and now she needs to take care over the kid because he can't deal with the kid anymore because he's in the hospital. So she takes him on this journey with all these on all these rides and all this stuff. Um, the kid is a real asshole, like, and that's the nice version, right? To her, um, she's like, he really is obnoxious, and I have to question the parenting methods and techniques uh, from Michelle's character. I don't know that would even work. I I I I I just don't know. I just don't know. I parts of it probably wouldn't. Some of it is interesting ways of dealing with the kid, and you know, I just didn't believe that whole the whole relationship going on. So anyhow, the writing definitely needs to be fixed on that movie. The plot I think was interesting, and getting the perspective of a woman trucker was interesting, and Michelle, I don't know how much she had to stretch for that movie, but I think she probably did have to stretch for that part. Um, but I think she did a good job of it for the most part. Of course, I like watching her act. She just does some really good stuff. So anyhow, if you like that type of scene, the trucker scene, it's probably a good movie for you to watch. Otherwise, you may not like it. I don't know. A Thousand Words. 2000 came out in 2009. Eddie Murphy, Kerry Washington, Cliff Curtis, Clark Duke, Allison Janney. Very interesting movie. It was like a more of a spiritual movie. Um, Eddie Murphy is like this tycoon, and he's hooks up with the ladies, I think, and he goes to some guru. I think Clark Duke. I don't remember who that was, but he goes to this guru, and this you know can you believe that he's a guru? I don't know. I had a hard time believing that he was, but anyhow, um, and maybe the writing could have been better for that. But anyhow, this guru goes and they start talking next to this tree, and all of a sudden, every word that Eddie Murphy said, his character says, for every word that he says something, one of the leaves falls from the tree, and there's all these leaves on this tree, right? So he's like, he finally is figuring it out, and in the meantime, the guru takes off to Mexico or somewhere, I don't know, some country, and he goes, "Well, where are you going? I need you." So Eddie Murphy is like all of a sudden becoming spiritual now for the first time probably ever in his life, and so he comes back and the leaves keep falling, and finally he's down to like 5 leaves, and right before that he goes to I don't know, his ex girlfriend or his wife or mom or whatever, and he 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 says something like, "I forgive you," and I love you. See you later. Bye. And then I think he has I think he has a wife and a kid, and they're not getting along, and because he's just wow 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 talking, right? It's like that. So he just won't shut up and won't give her any room to relate with, right? So finally he goes up to her. I don't remember what, but I love you. See you later. Bye. And finally he only has a few, like 5 leaves left, right? And I can't remember what happens, but I don't know if he got drunk and all of a sudden he passed out, but all of a sudden he has like this dream, and I think he connects with his dad. I can't remember what it was, but he did something that connected with the universe and finally made his karma right? And um, so all of a sudden the leaves come back and now he's okay. Now because otherwise when if those 5 leaves would have been gone, if they would have disappeared and they would have fallen from that tree, he would have died supposedly. But anyhow, the leaves come back and now he lives happily ever after. Duh, or whatever. Next, Knowing. Now this was an interesting movie, 2009, with Nicolas Cage, Rose Byrne, Chandler Canterbury, Laura Robinson, Nadia Townsend. Um, there's this elementary school and there's this young girl who's like into I don't know witchcraft or whatever. Something's happening with this girl, and they put this what do they call it? I can't remember. A time capsule in the school in the like the sidewalk in this canister in front of the school. They do the celebration and all the kids write some kind of something or make some kind of picture and they put it in the canister, and they're not going to open it for 50 years. Well, of course, you 50 years later, um, Nicolas Cage's kid and Rose Byrne's kid, they're not involved with each other. Their kids are having similar experiences, and all of a sudden they get these psychic stuff coming through, these voices whispering, and then all of a sudden just like the woman, their mom, or Rose Byrne's mom, uh, her 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 mom was the little girl at the school, and before she turned in the paper, her paper to for the time capsule, she started writing all these numbers. You see, like tons and tons of numbers, right? And so they turn in the numbers, and they open the time capsule, and of course, Nicolas Cage's kid gets the paper with all the numbers, and he goes, "Well, you're supposed to leave that with the school. You weren't supposed to bring that home." So the kid goes to bed and he starts looking at the numbers. You know, amazing. I don't remember if he's an engineer or whatever, but amazingly enough, he starts to figure out patterns in the numbers, right? So there's on certain date, so many people die, and he looks on the internet. Sure enough, on that date, all these people died, and then he looks at all the different other numbers and he's figuring out all these patterns, and then all of a sudden there's like 3 events. I think there's like 3 events that are left that still haven't happened. So sure enough, the next day, one of the events happens and 81 people died or whatever. And then he finally there was other numbers, and he finally figures out that that's latitude and longitude of where the event's going to take place at. So anyhow, they get to the very last event. It's supposed to be in the end of the world. Blah blah blah. Well, apparently these kids are chosen kids, and these UFO ships come in and take. Now that would be a hard decision for any parent to make. Do I give up my kid and takes off, and these UFO people take him forever and ever, amen? Or do I hang on to him and just love him, and whatever happens happens? So anyhow, of course he lets go of the kid and the UFOs, and there's all these other UFO ships because all these other kids are taken off, and at the very end, and I just cheesy, whatever. So that's what I felt. But I thought it was kind of a line of shit, but that's what. Eagle Eye, Shia LaBeouf, Michelle Monaghan, Billy Bob Thornton, Rosario Dawson, Anthony Mackie, Julian Moore, Cameron Boyce, Michael Chiklis, and William Sadler. It came out 2008. Now I remember. Um, so this was similar to another movie. I think it's a similar storyline, but they have this military major computer system, right? And like, it's supposed to be like have access to every camera, every webcam, every system, every computer all over the world, right? So it can tap into anything, and they can spy and case anyone or anything they want to anywhere in the world. So anyhow, the computer starts taking over by itself all of a sudden, um, and so somewhere down the road, people that were working with the computer all of a sudden got classified as a threat to U.S. military or whatever, or to the system. So the computer killed all these people, and one of those guys was Shia LaBeouf's brother, who was a twin brother. So anyhow, the computer kills the twin brother, and all of a sudden it calls Shia LaBeouf. Well, I want you to do this, and it starts giving him commands. And of course, Shia LaBeouf is like stubborn, and that was kind of after almost getting killed once, I would listen, right? After somebody's calling you, oh, I want you to go to the car and take off, and then all of a sudden almost gets killed. The computer somehow got all this firepower, bombs, all this stuff, and gave him all this money, and all of a sudden all this stuff was in his apartment. So here comes the FBI, right? And the computer's going, oh, and now, what really pissed me off about this movie, I don't think the voice of the computer is actually Julian Moore, and they don't mention. I don't think they mention that anywhere. I somehow I found it somewhere, but the actual voice was Julian Moore, and I don't think they even credit her for that. Why, I don't know. I thought that was pretty shitty, but that's besides the point. So anyhow, the the computer is telling Shia LaBeouf, now get out of there, get out of the apartment now, or otherwise you're gonna be taken to prison. Sure enough, here comes the FBI. They break down the door and they arrest him. They start asking him questions, blah 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 blah, and then the computer fixes it so he can escape. So he escapes, and computer goes, now jump down, otherwise you're gonna get killed or something. And all of a sudden, this big old piece of machine just slams through the building and almost kills him, right? So the computer goes, oh, now jump over the window. So he jumps and lands on something, I don't know what. So anyhow, they're doing the same thing to Michelle Monaghan. I don't know why they chose her, but apparently she fit the personality profile that would be a good match for Leah LeBeau to kill the president or something. I think in the end it wants to kill the president or something like that. And so anyhow, they figure out all this new technology, how to blow up a whole building with a piece of crystal, right? Just using a piece of crystal, they figure out how to blow up a whole building and make a piece of crystal into a bomb. How likely is that? I don't know. It's possibility, but I don't know what it would take for that to happen, if at all. So anyhow, Billy Bob Thornton is the FBI agent, right? And he finally starts to figure out, well, that something's going on, and they finally figure out that the computer at the military base is the one that's doing all this stuff, and so they finally at the end destroy the computer and save all these lives and all this stuff. Blah blah. Interesting, a very intense movie. Interesting technology. Um, Again, there was some shit that just didn't allow the movie to be transition very smoothly because there was some weird shit or something that didn't make sense. But it was kind of cheesy here and there. Otherwise, it could have been easily a two thumb up movie, but again, the writing and the directing just didn't work 100%. 2008, Baby Mama, Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Greg Kinnear, Dax Shepard, Romani Amalco, Maura Tierney, Holland Taylor, Sigourney Weaver, Steve Martin, and James Rebhorn. Um, Tina Fey's character can't have a baby. She says, "Oh my the doctor said that my uterus is in a T shape and I can't have a baby." Blah blah blah. So anyhow, so they somehow end up with Kami Poehler and her. They've been in several movies together. They're just like two peas in a pod. So anyhow, Amy and this Dax Shepard are a couple, and they're like they don't have any money and they need money. Blah blah blah. So Tina Fey goes to this company that Sigourney Weaver is running, and it comes to find out the company is like a sham or something like that. And Tina Fey is working for some company, some kind of a whole food company, and Steve Martin is like the CEO of the owner of the company. So he's making her into a vice president, and she's getting all. She has to come up with some of this project to put one of the stores there in the local area because all the stores are some other state or whatever, and so they're going to put a store there, and it's going to be the biggest store there of them all. So Tina Fey is in charge of that. So anyhow, she's doing that, and then she's dealing with Amy Poehler. That she Amy Poehler ends up being the surrogate mother, the one that's going to carry her baby, and now this part was such a line of shit because Amy Poehler comes in and says, "Oh, I'm pregnant," and so they sign all the contracts for all this, and but they don't test her, they don't send her to the doctor to make sure she's pregnant. What a line of shit. Any company that does that kind of stuff, they of course they're going to send you to a doctor and make sure that what you're saying is true. So anyhow, supposedly she's bullshitting Tina Fey about being pregnant, and then in the end she does end up being pregnant because her and Dax, have some hot sex, and then they get in the fight, and so Amy Poehler goes to Tina Fey's place and lives with her instead. So anyhow, and then meantime they get this building and they start working on that, and then somehow Tina Fey gets involved with some other guy. Who was it? I think it was Greg Kinnear. Kinnear. Anyhow, she gets involved with this. He has a local shop, one of those health food shops there in the area, and so she gets involved with him, and then at the very end, she ends up getting pregnant by that guy, and they live happily ever after. Whatever. Okay, fine. So Maid of Honor, 2000 came out 2008. Patrick Dempsey, Michelle Monaghan, Kevin McKidd, Kadeem Hardison, Sidney Pollack, and Kathleen Quinlan. So Patrick and Michelle their characters grow up with each other, and they never actually get involved with each other. They just hang out with each other. In the meantime, he hangs out with all these women. Yeah, he's like a ladies' man or whatever. And so anyhow, and Michelle's like, I think, in love with him, but she won't say anything because she doesn't want to ruin the relationship. So finally, she just says screw it, and she goes to Scotland and hangs out for a couple of weeks or whatever. Well, she meets some guy there, and he happens to be like the Duke of Scotland or something like that. And so she brings him back and introduces him to Patrick Dempsey, and he's like, in the meantime, he's talking with his buddies. What should I do? And trying to get advice and figure out whether he should, hang out or hook up with Michelle or not. So anyhow, she comes back with this dude, and he's like, his mouth falls over. What? And so anyhow, she's gonna get married. They're gonna get married, and she makes him the maid of honor, right? That's what the pun is. Um, in the movie, he becomes the maid of honor, and he helps her with setting up the wedding and all this blah blah blah. So they go to Scotland, and that's where she's gonna get married. And I don't know. He has all this weird shit that this Duke has to do in order to get married. Blah blah blah. And finally, she just goes, "No, I can't do this." So her and Patrick Dempsey hook up. So it's like that. Finding Bliss came out in 2008. Lily Sobieski, Matt Davis, Denise Richards, Donna Marie Recco, Jamie Kennedy, Kristen Johnston, Marsha Mersha Monroe, Krista Campbell. Um, Finding Bliss. Oh, I remember that was a very interesting movie. That was actually a good movie for Lily um, Sobieski. She goes to film school and she wins the best film producer of the class award. And so she goes to Los Angeles. She's gonna make it big, and she can't get a job anywhere, right? So it's like that. So she turns around and finds a job at some local porn studio, right? And that actually works out pretty good because she has all the equipment there to do her own movie. So she starts assisting, directing, and eventually writing some of their stuff. And at first she's like, "What? This is porn," and she, they go, "No, it's not porn. It's adult entertainment. We don't use the word porn around here. Whatever." So it's like that, right? So she goes, "Okay." So she takes the job, and she starts working with some of the actors, right? And so at night they, it's funny because she hires several of the actors for her movie, and and during the daytime they're like they're like passing out because they haven't been getting enough sleep, right, from doing both movies. So it's funny, they're all passed out, and finally the owner of the place, who also happens to be the same this to win, he wins the same exact award at the same school years prior to, right? So, you know, in the meantime, she's almost like a virgin. She's got issues with sex and all this, and she starts dreaming and starts having wet dreams or whatever. And finally, they at the very end they hook up, and he finds out she's doing the movie, so 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 he goes, well, you're gonna have to write my next movie, and you're gonna do it for free, and meantime you can do your movie, but you just have to write this movie. So she finally does the movie, and she wins some kind of award at the very end, and I don't know, they hook up at the very end, and they live happily ever after, whatever, right? Um, Let me see how much time we got left. Okay, I only got a few more minutes, so I'm just going to try to fly through this. Edge of America came out in 2003. James McDaniel, Irene Bedard, Delana Study, Tim Daly, Geraldine Keams, Trini King, West Studi. Who are all these people, right? All a bunch of no names. Edge of America. Oh, hang on. I gotta do a quick search on this because I don't recognize this movie. All right. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this. Edge of America. And see, all these people are no names. If I knew any of these people, and I might remember the movie, but Edge of America. Is that movie in here? What is this? It was such an amazing a movie that I don't even see it. Oh, here it is. This must be it. Oh, I remember now. This it was actually a nice movie. It's a good movie to watch with the kids, especially if your kids play basketball or something like that. A movie about James McDaniel. He gets a job as a teacher, a coach actually. And oh fuck. Oh, excuse me. Delete. But anyhow, he gets a job at a Navajo school, right? And so I actually recognize a lot of the a lot of the terrain that they showed in there. But anyhow, takes a school and goes and teaches these girls how to be a basketball team, and they eventually win all this stuff. I can't remember if this was a true story or not. I don't. But regardless, they did a nice job with it. It was interesting, inspiring, and the girls of course kicked butt in the very end. So, Kangaroo Jack, Jerry O'Connell, Anthony Anderson, Estella Warren, and Christopher Walken came out in 2003. That was kind of funny. Interesting. It wasn't an Academy Award winning movie, but it was interesting and kind of fun to watch. Jerry Anthony Anderson at the very beginning as kids saves Jerry O'Connell from drowning in the ocean, right? So they stay friends for forever and a day because of that whole thing. Because Anthony Anderson holds him to that whole guilt trip for all this time. So anyhow, the Jerry O'Connell's character's dad is Christopher Walken, who's actually becomes a stepdad, and he's a mobster, right? So Jerry O'Connor's character doesn't like him, but he just deals, just lets it go anyhow. So anyhow, they end up going to Australia. Something happens at the beginning, and Christopher Walken gets pissed off, and so he sends him to Australia to take $50,000 to some guy in Australia. Well, they lose the money because this kangaroo takes off with the jacket, and they put the jacket on it at the very beginning. They hit the kangaroo, and it pretends like it's dead. So they put the jacket and start taking all these pictures on it, with the kangaroo, and all of a sudden the kangaroo wakes up and he's still got the jacket on. So the kangaroo takes off, and he has the money inside the jacket. So anyhow, they go through this whirlwind of chasing this kangaroo, and in meantime, Christopher Walken finds out that he didn't show up with the money. Well, that money was going to be used to kill Jerry O'Connell and Anthony Anderson's characters. So they were going to take that money to some assassin that was going to kill them. Anyhow, to begin, so it didn't matter that if they took that money to them or not. So anyhow, they go through all this mirage of happenings, and they finally find the kangaroo and get the money, and this whole shooting thing, this whole episode happens, and the mobsters end up getting in a big fight with the Australians, and I don't think anybody won, but that's one, except Jerry O'Connell's character and Anthony Anderson and Estella Warren at the very end. Senior I Spy with Eddie Murphy, Owen Wilson, Famke Janssen, Malcolm McDowell, Gary Cole, came out in 2002. Owen Wilson supposedly a CIA agent, and Eddie Murphy is as a boxer. He wins all these boxing matches, so they get hooked up with each other, and they have to go to this country. I don't know I don't know if they're. Oh, they have to go figure out where there's like a spy plane that can turn that can be invisible, and they're looking for it, and it's lost. So they go to this country. I don't remember what. I want to say England, but anyhow, they go somewhere, and they go through all this stuff, and they finally find the plane, and come to find out, Famke Janssen is a traitor. I don't remember if she was. I think I can't remember if she was, because first she was a traitor and then she wasn't, and then she wasn't. I don't know. So they went back and forth, and so they finally find the jet, and and then now Eddie Murphy it becomes a CIA agent or whatever at the very end or whatever. Anyhow, interesting technology stuff that they presented in that movie, and whatever else. Find the Knockaround guys. 2000 came out 2001 with Barry Pepper, Vin Diesel, Andrew Davoli, Seth Green, John Malkovich, and Dennis Hopper. These mobsters from New York, who Barry Pepper, Vin Diesel, I think Barry Pepper is part of directly, and anyhow they get into a whole scene with the sheriff in this small town in Montana. I think it was in Montana. So anyhow, they're supposed to. Barry Pepper is supposed to go pick up some money. I don't know, $500,000 or something, and take it to his dad. Well, his buddy who flew in to with that money, and again some bullshit stuff that just doesn't make any sense. Why somebody would be that stupid? And I couldn't see somebody that stupid. But anyhow, he goes in, he flies to Montana to get gas, and he leaves the money bag out. Why would he take the bag out of the plane to begin with? Stupid, right? Whatever. What a line of shit. So anyhow, takes it out and leaves it with some other baggage. And in the meantime, the sheriffs are inside the building talking to the ticket agent there or whatever. But and he's freaking out. This Barry Pepper's friend. I don't remember if it was Seth. Maybe it was Seth Green. I can't remember. But anyhow, his buddy's he is the one that's grabbing the money and taking it back to them. So anyhow, the baggage guys, they steal the money. These kids, right? They're like 19, 20 years old. They look at the bag, and then there's no ticket on there. They go, "What's the deal with this bag?" And then they figure it out, and so they steal the money. And then come to find out that one of the guys is the son of the sheriff, in town. So he goes and grabs the money, and he's going to keep it with his buddy. And then the mobsters come in, and they have this shootout. And finally, Barry Pepper gets the money, takes it to his dad. I'm out. I'm not doing the mobster scene anymore. So anyhow, I think I'm just going to go like this. Desperado. Now, 11/11 was the movie that was made in Sedona, about a abductee group with some guy he has sex with this alien, and they have a kid together, and the kid lives with him. She doesn't know till towards the end, till the middle of the movie, that she's an half alien, half human. It was interesting to watch because some cool backgrounds, from Sedona, to watch all that. But other than that, a lot of it was stupid. Cosmos, Tom England, Joshua Ford, Arjun Singh Panam came out in 2019. That was a movie about astronomers and or engineers or something. They're keeping track of a satellite, and all this bullshit about some kind of beep that they hear, and I mean, they don't even have special effects. Whatever. Anyhow, Flashout, came out in 2018. Came out with it's like some kind of parallel universes video game type of thing. Cheesy. 2010, The Ghost Rider, Pierce Bronson, Ewan McGregor, Kim Cattrall, Olivia Williams. Anyhow, this guy, Ewan McGregor, his character is writing a book, is ghosting a book, or is writing a book for Pierce Bronson as a ghostwriter, and he ends up becoming a private investigator, whatever. Anyhow, 2009, Leaves of Grass, Edward Norton, Susan Sarandon, Melanie Linsky. Edward Norton, he actually plays both twin brothers. He has a twin brother, and he plays them both. And he ends up having. He's a scholar. The more educated one is a scholar. He teaches the class, and so anyhow, the other brother is in a bunch of trouble. So and he's I now they had some interesting hydroponics, I think, in the form they were growing all this. They had this big building growing all this pot, and supposedly the pot was supposed to be really good. But anyhow, another bullshit scene. Interview, Steve Buscemi, Sienna Miller, James Franco, came out 2006. I don't know if Steve Buscemi wrote that. I think he produced it, or anyhow, he's supposed to interview this Sienna Miller, who's this horror movie actress and supposed to be really popular. Blah blah blah. You know, there was some interesting stuff in it, but it just didn't work for me. Anyhow, that's a wrap. I want to thank you very much for stopping by. Have a God Goddess week. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will be. Aloha.